Mike, have you ever been in a house so large that you've gotten lost?
Honestly, I actually don't think that I could say that. I live in London. There are not many big houses.
Well, next time you're in San Jose, California, you could change that.
Oh, well, let me just consult my calendar. That seems useful.
Today, we're talking about the Winchester Mystery House, a 24,000 square foot house with a unique history and some absolutely bonkers numbers. Let me just share some of this list with you. It has 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors.
What? 2,000 doors?
2,000 doors. 161 rooms, 52 skylights, 17 chimneys, 13 bathrooms, and 6 kitchens.
And 47 stairways and fireplaces.
It just goes on and on.
I'm really puzzled about 161 rooms and 2,000 doors and 10,000 windows. Those numbers don't make sense to me. Right?
As we get into this, there's some interesting decisions or non-decisions that went into this.
So this is a ton of house, right? There's just a lot of house here. And when we talk about the history, as Stephen says, it's going to become a little bit more clear how not only this place is so weird, but why it's grown to be such a tourist destination.
We need to start with Sarah Winchester, widow of firearm tycoon William Winchester. In 1881, he died of TB, and she inherited more than $20 million, which is like $530 million today.
Wow.
In addition to this, as if that wasn't enough, she received nearly 50% ownership of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, his firearm company, giving her an income of roughly $1,000 a day, equivalent to $26,000 a day, 2018 dollars.
Turns out it was big money in guns in the 1800s.
Yeah, seems like it.
Sarah Winchester used these funds to fuel what would become a nearly 38-year construction project, resulting in the stats that we have read off for you.
How it began is a little bit of a mystery. There are reports that Winchester sought the advice of a medium after the death of her husband and their infant daughter. This medium told her that she should travel west from her home in Connecticut and find a place to build a home for herself and the spirits of people who had fallen victims to Winchester's rifles.
Sounds like some guilt going on over there, I think.
A little bit.
Just a tad. These reports are highly questionable, right, as you could imagine. It is possible that she just wanted to start over after so much loss, and she wanted a different climate, and her vast means meant that she had a way to do that.
However it began, in 1884, she purchased an unfinished farmhouse in the Santa Clara Valley and began building her mansion.
Carpenters and other workers were hired, and they worked in shifts around the clock, turning the farmhouse into a massive 7-story mansion.
Unlike basically any other project, like anything else you build, you would hire an architect, but Winchester didn't do that. And as things expanded, some rather odd features came about, such as windows overlooking other rooms and doors and staircases that led nowhere.
Ooh. So there's like 1,000 doors that you open and it's just like a drop or another wall.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's how that works. Many accounts attribute these oddities to her belief in ghosts, and some believe that the house is actually haunted by the people that were killed by the firearms that were sold by the Winchester Company. You can see how this story, this myth is taking shape a little bit.
In 1906, a massive earthquake struck nearby San Francisco, causing damage to the house, which was reduced to being just 4 stories in height in attempts to repair the mansion.
Despite its massive size, the house is built almost entirely out of wood. 20,500 US gallons, which is 78,000 liters of paint, were required to paint the house, as Winchester disliked the look of untreated wood.
I can't imagine that much paint.
It is a lot of paint. It's like a water tower of paint.
All the numbers with this story are just so bananas.
It doesn't make any sense. It also doesn't make sense that all this is happening in the 1800s. That's what I can't get my head around.
A lot of just dudes moving things around, right?
I guess so.
The interior is finished with high-end adornments, including gold and silver chandeliers, hardwood floors, and stained glass windows that were created by the Tiffany Company. Some of these windows were even custom designed by Winchester herself, including the spider web window that featured her favorite web design. She was really into spider webs, as well as the number 13, which is repeated in the piece.
It's the Yahoo logo. She loved web design. A second window was designed by the Tiffany of Tiffany himself, so that when sunlight strikes the prismatic crystals, a rainbow is cast across the room, which is a beautiful way to design a window. It was installed in an interior wall in a room with no light exposure, preventing the effect from being seen. This is why you need an architect.
It is. It is exactly why you need an architect.
The Tiffany and Tiffany's creates an incredible window for you that makes rainbows, and you give it no light.
The mansion boasted more than just beautiful glass, however. It included state-of-the-art features like modern indoor toilets and plumbing, 3 elevators, and push-button gas-powered lights.
Do you think this building's up to code?
Not today. You can never build this today.
Do you think, I don't know how people go in this. It feels like just a health and safety hazard constantly. Winchester suffered from arthritis, and over time she had the staircases replaced with special easy riser steps that were just a few inches tall.
Throughout her life, Winchester remained a believer in spirits, only using one of the mansion's bathrooms, leaving the others to her workers and to let them serve as decoys to confuse the spirits. And she slept in a different room every night for the same reason.
I don't think that was the reason. I think she just couldn't find her bedroom. There's so many rooms, she just kept getting lost.
It's getting dark. I'm here. This is where I'll sleep tonight.
This is it now. Construction on the house ended with Winchester's death in September of 1922, 40 years after it began. Some have reported that construction never ceased during that period, but others say the project would stop for months at a time to allow the workers and Winchester herself to rest.
When she died, all of her possessions, apart from the house itself, were bequeathed to her niece, who sold the majority of the house's contents.
Mrs. Winchester made no mention of the mansion in her will, and appraisers considered the house basically worthless due to earthquake damage and the unfinished design, not to mention the highly impractical nature of its construction.
It was sold at auction to a local investor for over $135,000 and subsequently leased for 10 years to John and Mamie Brown, who eventually opened it up to public tours. Today, a private company representing the Browns' descendants own the home.
Things are still discovered on the property today. In 2016, it was announced that another room had been found. It was an attic space that contains a pump organ, Victorian couch, a dress form, a sewing machine, and some painting.
That's wild.
It's like the pyramids.
People have been in and out of this house for 100 years. How do you know it's not there?
It's wild. You just keep... It's like, we found another room. Oh, hang on a second. There's another staircase, and here's another hallway. And it just goes on and on and on.
It's crazy.
Today, the house is a very popular tourist attraction in San Jose, having drawn more than 12 million visitors since 1923.
This is one of those topics that was sent in by 2 different people, so I'd like to thank Mary and Trevor for their suggestions. This was a lot of fun, and you and I are in San Jose once a year. I think this needs to go on our to-do list. We should go see this.
At least it'd be easier than going to the world's smallest skyscraper.
This would be easier to find, that's for sure. If you want to learn more about the Winchester Mystery House, there's some links over in the show notes this week. They're at relay.fm/ungenius/80. While you're there, you can get in touch via email, send in your own topic suggestion, or you can do so on Twitter. The show is at Ungeniused. You can find me there as ISMH, and you can follow Mike on Twitter as IMYKE. And until our next Hidden Staircase, Mike, say goodbye.
Cheerio.
Adios.